All right. Hello, everyone. It's Brenda Miller. I'm a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in Basking Ridge, New Jersey, and I go live every Wednesday at 5 o'clock Eastern Time to share with you some of the things that I'm working on. And I am lucky enough to be going to Las Vegas next week for our backstage leadership event. And so I am prepping my classes, which occur the day I get back, or right the morning after I get back at night. So I'm trying to get ready. So I'm going to share with you one of those cards and show you how to make it. And for those of you attending the class in person, I'll have a couple of tips for you as well. So let's go ahead and take a look at what I'm talking about. So, oops, look at that. That was a fun thing to do, right? Okay, so this is the card. And I don't know if you can notice, but in the background is that cool paper that is textured, and we've done a few things to it. So the lighting in here is kind of bright, so you kind of can't tell, but we're going to show you how we did this and how you can do this. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm using a bunch of different supplies for this, so not just one set. So you'll see the Peace on Earth that's there. That will come from the Peace on Earth bundle or stamp set that I've used many times before, and I will continue to use. And then I'm also using the dies from the Snowflake Kisses bundle. And thank you to my downline Lois who lent this to me. And this has all these different dies that come with it. Aren't they beautiful? All snowflakes of different sizes. You've got a background here. But we're going to be using the ones over here, which is why they're out. You'll notice the new packaging. So the packaging comes with this new folder, and the dies are on elongated pieces of paper, regular paper, but Lois has chosen to purchase these. These are inserts for this kind of packaging, and they are magnetic. So it helps keep everything in place. They're quite thick, the ones that she orders, and she gets them from stampinstorage.com. So if you're interested in that, but this is how the new packaging comes. It's this extended piece. So, quite a bit bigger, and will be stored standing up probably. So that's what at least we're going to do. So those are the dies that we're going to use. And let's see, what else do I need to show you? All right, I think we can just go from here. So we've got our piece of Balmy blue cardstock, and we're going to just fold that in half and give it a good score. Scoring bones are all elsewhere again. All right, so I've just folded the card in half. And for this card, at the moment, I don't have a white insert because it's light enough to write on. I may change my mind about that, but for right now, that's what I'm going with. And then we have that specialty paper I was talking about. So this is the Silent Snowfall paper, and it comes this way. It is 12 by 12 sheets of this embossed paper, and you can see the snowflakes are evenly spaced and decorate the background. So they're nice, and they're deep, but not too deep. It's not quite as embossed as our 3D embossing folders, I must say, but it still comes this way, so you don't have to do any embossing. And I think that for a lot of people who don't have an cut and emboss machine, this is a great alternative for your winter cards. So you can get a lot of pieces out of it. And so, but we're not going to use it plain white. You could use it plain white, but we're not going to. We're going to go ahead and take our Balmy blue ink pad and open it up. And we are going to use our blending brushes. So we've done this before, but I like to, instead of holding my blending brush at the handle, I like to hold it up here so that I can push down on it here and really get firm action with the brush. And you can see this is, I do separate my brushes by color in terms of blues and greens and reds and like that. But you'll also note that on a piece of scratch paper, if you're changing colors, like shades, like if I was going from this to a navy, or from a navy to this, I'd want to, brush it off until the color goes, it doesn't show anymore. okay, so that you get the true color that you're working with. So we're going to tap, 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 and then you want to tap it off onto a piece of paper, or in this case, a glass mat, and then come and using a circular motion, you're going to color your paper, and you can see what happens here. Oops. I don't want to go quite that hard. I'm not very gentle. I like to take as few strokes as possible, so I'm going pretty hard. Now I could have chosen to use a darker color, but what's nice about this is that you can start light and then you can go back and decide, oh, I want it a little bit darker, or I just want it a little bit darker in one spot, perhaps. That may happen too. So you can see we're coloring it all the way around so that it's now balmy blue instead of plain white. And of course you can do this with any color, but to me that made the most sense for this particular card. So that's how you're going to color your paper, all right? And you are going to do that before you die cut, because the next thing we are going to do is to use the, let's get those dies out. These are just some of the dies. Remember, you're going to take the largest die and you're going to put it into the corner and take it over to your cut and emboss machine and cut it out, and it's going to end up looking like this, which is great. I just think this is a lovely detail, and when we put it onto our card front in a second, you're going to be able to see that balmy blue showing through, and I just think that that's great. Now, just a couple of tips about this die. Well, when you do this and you put it through the machine, doesn't matter what paper you use, some of it's going to get stuck in here, and that's where your take your pick tool is going to come in handy. So we're going to use it in two ways. The first is, see all the little holes on the back of the die? Well, that's to help release what's in there. So you're going to take your brush and you're going to brush it around. Now, I'll tell you, that does a little bit of good, but not a whole lot. So then what you're going to do is take the pointy end, the poker outer for my friend Virginia, and we are going to poke out all the little pieces. And even after you do that, I'm telling you, a couple are going to get stuck, and they're down here where they're like right here. There is no hole to get this out, so you're going to have to come and get it out. And you want to do that each time you cut, or at very worst, every 2 cuts. And if you don't, the die will not cut correctly, and that's going to cause you a lot of problems. So that's a tip for this. Now, another thing you could do is use some wax paper. And with that wax paper, you would put the wax paper in between your paper and your die, and you would just lay this down. It'll cut out. It'll come out a lot easier from here. And you'll just have to wipe away any excess wax paper. So that is something, if you come to class, there'll be wax paper there. There'll be the take your pick tool with the brush on it and the little foam mat that it comes with, just so that you know. But that's something to be aware of with this particular die. Okay, so now that we've got that cut out, let's go ahead and add this to our card front. And even, it is embossed, so I'm going to go ahead and use my wet adhesive. And another reason I'm going to do that is because I want to get down here and I'm going to just use a very little bit of adhesive, so like a thin line of adhesive, so that I'm getting the edges. And so, you want to make sure that you're not goopy, all right? We don't want any goop. We don't want any of that glue seeping out. And of course, you could use your regular adhesive. Now, one thing you'll note is that I didn't do this so straight, because it just looks funny to me when you lay it down straight, because I did it on my sample that way too. But that's okay, because look, when you look at this card, are you noticing that this is off a little? Please say no. So I don't notice it, but yeah, that's something you might want to look out for if you're making this card. Okay, yay, that's done. So next, let's build on this. So we're going to take a piece of white cardstock, and we're going to use the other 3 dies, and we're going to cut them out on a piece of scratch paper. Now, there'll be pieces there if you're at class, and you're going to cut out these 3 snowflakes, and you're going to place them as close together as you can. And we don't want to waste paper if we can help it. So in this case, we can line them up like that, and you're going to send them through the machine and through the magic of television, you know, of course, I've got them here. So here are my snowflakes, and I think they're really nice. I like that they're all different. And we've had snowflakes just like them in the past, and that's okay too. It's always, snowflakes are just always beautiful to have. So, okay, so we've got those cut out, and then one more thing we want to cut before we assemble, two more things, is this is our Peaceful Garden Glimmer paper. Okay, so how pretty is that? I just love how this shimmers and it doesn't shed. That's the most beautiful thing about our Glimmer paper. And what we're going to do is just take a pair of scissors and just trim these on an angle. Okay, and I like to trim it on the same angle. So what did I do there? I did up. So now I'm going to turn it this way and do it in this direction. I know it doesn't make sense. I have trouble. I have trouble with angles. So here we go. We're going to go ahead and add this to our card. Now you could use your wet adhesive for that, but I'm just going to use my Stampin' Seal. In this case, I think it's going to stick just fine. And I'm putting that smack in the middle of my card. Okay, and that is going to stick out at the end. So, of course, we're going to die cut our circle, and that circle is done with my Stylish Shapes dies. If you've heard me say it before, I use the Stylish Shapes dies on almost every single card that I make. Certainly in every class that I do, you'll see that I will use them. They are perfect. I love that they're stitched. If you're looking for something to get, that makes a terrific gift for a beginner stamper, because it gives them something to stamp on and to make layers with. So we're going to go ahead and grab our stamp, which is Peace on Earth, as I mentioned, from the Peace on Earth stamp set. And I'm going to stamp that right in the center of the circle. Bum, bum, bum. Tap, tap, tap. And there we go. We've got that. Just love that Peace on Earth. And with snowflakes, I just think that is the most elegant holiday card that you can give, personally. It's non-denominational, it sends the right message, and to me, it's just right. So we're going to go ahead and put this on with dimensionals. I'm going to use regular size dimensionals for this. I am going to use minis next, so if you prefer to just use minis, that's fine. Or if you prefer to use the big ones and then just cut them down, that's fine too. So here we go. Now I didn't want to do that. I want to make sure that my dimensionals are actually sticking to the paper. I'll show you what I did there by accident. Is I put the first two kind of going across, and it might have just landed on the Glimmer paper, and it just doesn't stick as well to Glimmer paper. So I want to make sure that I'm centering it and putting it over the middle there. Okay, so we've got that sticking out, and now we want to add our snowflakes around. So for this, we do want to use dimensionals, so we're going to use little tiny pieces of dimensionals, or in this case, for this one, it makes it easy to use a mini dimensional. These are our mini dimensionals, if you're not familiar with them. You can purchase them on regular sheets like this, or if you're a subscriber to Paper Pumpkin or have purchased any of our kits, some of the kits come with these mini dimensionals, and I always find I have leftovers, so it's just a hint there. So I'm just laying my first one there, and then for these two, I want to put some dimensionals on the outside. So I'm going to use just one. I'm going to take the edges of one, and I'm cutting it into little teeny tiny pieces. Now, believe it or not, the tiny dimensionals are really, while they're very small, they're not quite small enough, and you want to put it on the largest section that you can, so you want to hide it as best as you can. So here I have one, probably not perfect, and I'm going to add another little teeny tiny one, only because I want to make sure that it sticks, because it is kind of tiny, and I'm putting them together so that I know that it's not going to go on top of the circle. So here's one, and when I say that, I don't want to put the dimensional part on top of the circle. I'm going to add one here, and I really should have put my big one on first, the bigger one, and that's this one. And the reason I say that is because I want to make sure I have room to put it. So you see how thin I've cut these? Really, really tiny, and it's really amazing what you can, how small you can get it, and find the largest part of your snowflake to put it. Now, one thing I'm sure you noticed that maybe it's not laying as flat as I would like, and that's okay because that's where our little glue comes in. So we're going to take first I'm going to get this attached, okay, and like I said, I probably should have done the bigger one first, but that's okay. So I'm going to lay that down, and so if I want to, I can put a little bit of glue under here, and you could use a toothpick. I have actually here it's a flossing brush, which you really shouldn't use on your teeth because they are a little harsh. That is what dentists say. I admit I sometimes do use them, but I also use them just for crafting. And I'm just going to take a little bit of glue and put it on the end. And I know it seems like surgery, but it's worth it to put it a little bit there to hold it down. And you're going to have to hold it with your finger. And then I'm going to come over here and do it again, right where that goes. And when I pick up my finger, this one didn't attach yet. So let me just get a little more. I was trying to go faster, cheat a little bit. So here we go. So yeah, I've got another little dab on there. And again, a toothpick or whatever you've got handy that's tiny, you can put that on. And there are other ways of doing it as well. But for this, I want to make sure that these are sticking up and these are staying down, but you could also leave them floating, and that would be okay too. So that, I believe, is our card, but I had one extra thing that I wanted to show you, and I think I'm going to try it for the class, and that is to use the Wink of Stella brushes, because we've got our little bit of glitter shining through there, but this is the Wink of Stella brush. It has a very thin, clear, glittery paint. I'm holding it up and you can't see anything. And when you brush it, it is just clear. See that? It's a little glittery. So it makes it hard in classes. I know a lot of people, they can't see it. And I know that's hard for people, but just know you're getting that little bit of glitter on there. And it basically has its own sealant. So there's nothing that's going to float around for those of you who are glitter averse. I know I have a lot of people who are glitter averse, but that's why our Glimmer paper is so wonderful. And then, of course, the Wink of Stella. And Wink of Stella, it's an underused product, and it is so perfect for the holidays. So, if it was up to me, I'd glitter everything all the time, every day. I'm a glittery girl. I like that. You can see on my manicure, I get one nail with glitter. Isn't that fun? So my manicurist knows I'm going to ask for that. Nothing too fancy, just a little bit of glitter. But now that I've done it, let's see if we can see it. See? You can almost catch it. So it's very, very subtle. So if you wanted to skip it, you could skip it. But I highly recommend a little bit of glitter on anything that you're doing. So anyway, so that is our class for today. And again, if you're coming to the Stamp-A-Stack class next week, definitely RSVP and know that this is one of the cards that we'll be making. So thank you for joining me today. Next week, I hope to have a recorded video for you to watch. But if I don't, forgive me. It just means I ran out of time before it came time to leave. But that's what I've got, and I'll share with you everything that I learned from backstage when I get back. So thank you so much for joining me, and we'll see you the next time. Bye-bye.